Hey, is that Obi-Wan Kenobi under the Christmas tree? Obi-Wan, hi, it's Dan Z from Coffee with Kenobi.
Oh, well, a Merry Christmas, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful Christmas time and has some blue eggnog for me.
Why, thank you, Obi-Wan. Don't mind if I do. Hey, how about we start this show? Yes, good idea. Let's start the show right now. Here we go.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is...
Hello, everybody. A very Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. It's a special show today on Coffee with Kenobi. We are your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, rhetoric, and the best travel tips this side of the galaxy. We are bringing you a very special Christmas show today for show number 157 of Coffee with Kenobi, and I am your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of my red Christmas sweater mug, of course. Last day I get to drink out of it for the year, and I am going to enjoy it, and I'm very glad I get to enjoy it with each and every one of you. Coffee with Kenobi is brought to you by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. For all of your travel needs to the Disney theme parks and the cruise lines, as well as anywhere you want to go on vacation, be sure to go to www.mousefantravel.com, the official travel agency of Coffee with Kenobi. On Coffee with Kenobi, I invite you to join me on this Christmas day as we think about the mythology of Star Wars in a whole new way, and maybe laugh a little bit in the process. You're here with your Star Wars family as we go to our favorite coffee shop and talk Star Wars. On today's show is a one-on-one conversation with James Arnold Taylor as we talk the Clone Wars, Battlefront II, and his podcast. Plus, we talk about what Christmas means to us and some of our Christmas traditions. It's a wonderful show, and I'm so glad I can join you on Christmas Day. Thank you so much for having me with you to celebrate this very special holiday. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, enjoy the warmth and light of your Christmas tree, and let's have some Coffee with Kenobi with James Arnold Taylor. Joining us today for a very special Christmas cup of coffee is the one and only James Arnold Taylor, Mr. Obi-Wan Kenobi himself.
Hello there. Let me take a sip of this coffee here. Tasty, yes. Is that a dark roast?
It is, just as you requested, Master Jedi. So great to have you on again, Jat.
Well, it is a pleasure to be on, and, no better podcast to be on than one that has Kenobi in the title.
Well, thank you. I think that's very kind of you to say. You, I've said this many times, but you were the first interview we ever had on the show where I felt like, okay, we actually are on the map now. James Arnold Taylor's on our show. I'll never forget that. I remember exactly where I was sitting, the microphone I was using, everything. Oh, it was a big deal.
Ooh, now, so see, because I'm a nerd this way, what microphone were you recording on?
That was like just a little karaoke $15 mic that I got from Target.
And no one would know, you know?
Exactly.
That's the thing when people always go, how do you do it? How do you guys do it, right? I say, just get what you have, work with what you have, and see what happens. And I mean, look at you. Now look at all these years later, and here we are.
Yeah, 5 years later, and 5.5 now, things are going great.
Yeah.
So this is great because this show is being released on Christmas Day, because the best gift we can give to our many listeners is the conversation with James Arnold Taylor. Christmas is a great time. I know you're very much believer for the reason for the season, as am I. What does Christmas mean to you and your family?
Oh, man. It means, well, I mean, it really is exactly as you said there. And I've said this a few times recently, and now my own podcast, it's really Linus from Charlie Brown Christmas sums it all up, I think, when he does his speech. It's so wonderful to recognize the saving grace that we've been given and to take that in at least one day, out of 365, and really truly reflect on that and appreciate that. And that's certainly for me and for my family. And we just love all the goodies that it brings too, of wonderful music and lights. And, we're in California where you just don't get snow and you don't get cold weather. I mean, it'll be sunny on Christmas. It'll be, so it's like any chance you get to kind of take it in the way everybody else does and put a scarf on and drink cocoa. That's pretty good.
Oh, yes. Well, especially with it, you got to take care of that voice of yours. So cocoa is a great way to do that.
Yeah. You got to watch yours though. Boy.
I know. I feel great. It just, it doesn't sound that good, but That's right. It gets good sympathy from the wife, so that's always a plus, right?
That's right.
I'd love to do the dishes, but my throat.
Yeah.
Just kidding. That wouldn't work anyway.
That doesn't work. No, I'm sorry.
No. So you have been a very, very busy guy, of course. And I'm glad. I love what you said about Christmas, too. Jumping back to that really quickly. I think the thing for me that makes Christmas so special, it really is a season where, for the most part, everybody's pretty much in sync with kind of their feelings because they're all gearing up for a special day. And it's a holiday that appeals to all five senses. And I don't feel like we can do that universally with too many other things.
That's a great way of putting it. I never would have thought to put it that way, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, it really does.
So how does Star Wars and Christmas work for you? I mean, for me, it's we just had Steve Sansweet on talking about our favorite Star Wars Christmas presents.
Yeah.
But how does that combine for you?
Yeah, it's funny. I was on the Force Cast earlier today as well, talking with Ryan Donahoe about this. The gifts of Christmas. But Star Wars, specifically for me as a child, it really meant a lot because, I'm of the generation where you actually did have to wait for those first action figures to come out. And the first year, you just got this cardboard picture of them all. And that was a bit of a ripoff. And then, after that, you get the figures. And I've told this story on my podcast, but of getting my Darth Vader lightsaber, the first, this was back in like 78 or something when they finally made these lightsabers, which was just a flashlight with like a little red gel on it and a plastic tube. It was the ones that took the big D-cell batteries and, they was heavy. And it was just a regular flashlight. They didn't dress it up in they didn't even like paint it or put stickers on it to try and make it look like a lightsaber hilt. It was just like, no, we got to get these things out. Come on, we got to get these out, and it's just like the kids want them. And so, but fond memories of Star Wars toys at Christmas time. I don't know. It's very special. It is.
It really is. I remember having one of those original ones. It had like a yellow balloon that kind of went over it.
Really?
Not really a balloon, but so much, but it's just like that plastic, inflatable plastic, almost like a swimming pool material with that flashlight thing. Oh yeah. Great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah, there's so many fun memories, but it's all about family. And I feel like you are such a good ambassador for Star Wars and fandom because you're very much a family man and you very much promote this community. And I've been very blessed to be a part of a lot of cool Star Wars things since this show started. But I was at San Diego Comic-Con when they announced that the Clone Wars was coming back and, they start showing all the clone trooper helmets and you hear Dee Bradley Baker. And I'm thinking, is this some sort of deleted scene? Is this some sort of a promo they did just for this or what's going on? And then I saw Obi-Wan Kenobi and I didn't recognize the animation. I thought, oh my gosh, it's coming back. More James Arnold Taylor and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Star Wars is back. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, that's very cool. It is cool to hear. I wish I was there. So many of us wished we could have been there, but they only had room on the stage, I guess, for two, and no two better to have than Anakin and Ahsoka, really. And so that was fantastic for Matt and Ashley to be there. But we all wanted to be there and experience that because we had known about it I had known about it since February. So I was actually doing some voices in the Han Solo movie. And Matthew Wood, the voice of General Grievous and the sound designer for Clone Wars and all these films, and Oscar-nominated sound designer, and dear friend says, they're talking about, maybe bringing back Clone Wars. I said, no way. And he's like, yeah. And then within that same week, they called me and said, yeah, we're doing it, and keep it under your hat. And then I went back for another session with him, and Tom Kane and Matt Wood and I, so Yoda, Grievous, and Obi-Wan are sitting there at the commissary at Disney with this new news going, can you believe how people are going to lose their minds? And Tom is like, saying that too. He was like, oh, it's going to be amazing, in his big narrator voice. And, and we were just, the funnest thing for us was imagining how all of you were going to react. So that was more fun. But, so then that's February, and we didn't find out, you all didn't find out till July. So we had to hold our tongues for quite a long time. And you and I had done an episode of Coffee with Kenobi. I was on.
That's right.
And you were all talking about Clone Wars. And I knew at that point, but I couldn't say anything. So
you were a vault.
Yeah. Because that's the funny thing is I was doing so many different interviews and things at that time. For some reason, I don't know why. I think people were just feeling nostalgic or something, and it brought me on to talk about things. And wouldn't it be great? And I was in London, and people were going, "Gosh, it's such a bummer about Clone Wars." And and I'm just going, "Yeah, I know. Maybe someday Disney will come to their senses." Yeah, I know. And I'm wanting to scream, but I know I can't. And so it was so worth it to see everybody's reaction there at Comic-Con. And I've watched the video of it all happening and stuff.
Oh, so, yeah. I videoed that moment, and it was the most viewed thing we've ever had on Twitter.
Oh,
for
really?
Sure. Oh, yeah. It was just electric because, well, so many reasons. So let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we'll talk more with the one and only James Arnold Taylor. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi. Oh, pass the cream, would you?
We're not going to do a full Patreon conversation today because I want to get back to our conversation with James Arnold Taylor, and I know you want to get back to celebrating Christmas and the holiday season, but I do want to thank our Patreon contributors, Rebecca Raven, Dennis Keithley, Terry Lee, Ben Elkington, Melinda Wolf, Wayne Booker, Aaron Harris, Chris Gavarka, Angela Sauce, Mediocre Jedi, Caroline Maselli, Tim Bungaroth, Chris Metz, LJ Souter, Thea Selby, Jeff Ellis, Daz Davies, Christian Dale, Jason Hall, Brian McKinney, Connie Shee, Mike Audette, Jared Cantor, BJ Smith, Eric Struthers, Nick Deco, and Mark Suter. A very Merry Christmas to our Coffee with Kenobi Patreon contributors, and thank you so much to each of them for helping to make Coffee with Kenobi the podcast that it is and that we hope it will grow into in 2019 and beyond. Thank you so much. If you want to hear a very special Christmas show, we have one that is released this week, and of course, for Coffee with Kenobi's Patreon contributors, for just $5 a month, you get access to CWK Pour Over. Sounds like a great last-minute Christmas present to give to yourself because you can hear myself, Tom Gross, and Corey Clubb each week talking about popular culture topics on this week's show. We talk about Christmas, our Christmas traditions, and we have a very important conversation about what the season means to us. So after you listen to this show with James Arnold Taylor, be sure to subscribe to Coffee with Kenobi's Patreon page. And there are coffee mugs, t-shirts, and so much more. We hope you will join us for Coffee with Kenobi and our Patreon family. Thank you so much. Now let's get back to the show with James Arnold Taylor. We are back, and we just talked with James about the news that the Clone Wars was coming back. And of course, we don't want spoilers. We know you couldn't give them anyway, and that's very much the antithesis of what Coffee with Kenobi is about anyway. We deal with what is, not what might be.
Right.
But how much are you allowed to say as far as what was it like to record with the gang again?
Oh, I think I can talk about my feelings of being in the booth. Certainly. I can't get into details, as you said. So, but and I think if anybody follows Ashley Eckstein, they can see on her Instagram, they can kind of track when we're recording because she puts pictures up of all of us, together.
Yeah.
So,
it's a family. You guys are a family.
We're absolutely a family. And it's, I was talking about this earlier today. It felt as though nothing had like a time warp, and we all will get in the studio and we'll look at each other. I'll turn to my left and I'll see Ashley. I'll turn to my right. I'll see, Dee or something. And I'll go, this is just like nothing's changed, except my beard has got a lot more. I am certainly more old Ben than young Obi-Wan with Qui-Gon now. But other than that, the feelings are exactly the same, and to look through the glass and see Dave Filoni there. And Dave and I both joke that we have more gray in our beards now, but it's pretty fantastic. It's the same old stuff. The one thing I can say is, Dave will still come in as he used to, and he'll give us the story for what, we're about to experience in it. And we'll record and just have fun. I think it's probably fair to say this too. I've not shared this, and I don't think anybody's going to get mad at me for saying this. We'll record something and then Dave will go, let's just do it again. just because it's just so fun to see you all in there. So just do it again. We already have what we need, but let's do it again for fun. And that's kind of sums up, how we've all been doing this now. It's been great.
It's just wonderful. It's wonderful to hear. I think we've all just sort of envisioned, what that must be like. And this is great. Hearing things like this is great. And the family atmosphere that you have, and the Clone Wars really kind of started it all as far as truly bringing us as fans into the Star Wars world. I mean, before that we had the films, and of course, that's a whole other different kind of a thing, because the people in the movies weren't necessarily doing interviews or coming on RoboForce Radio or Force Cast or things like that. And then when we got to hear from you regularly, I just thought, this is a guy that's not only super talented, but he's just a regular guy, and he's a fan, and he's a family man. And I think that's very appealing to people.
Oh, well, I hope so. I know that I certainly love the fact that we've been able to be that. And we've talked about it before. We really were the first cast that was able to connect with social media, because it was really breaking around that same time. 10 years ago. Isn't that weird? Social media, it feels like it's been around forever. And at the same time, it's so brand new. And we were getting our Twitter accounts and all of that, and putting stuff out there on Facebook. Remember Facebook, but it was pretty great, So we connected with people in a new way, and we were huge fans of Star Wars and so thrilled to be doing it. But I kind of pinch myself. It's coming up on 18 years now. It was 2001 that I first voiced Obi-Wan Kenobi, and so here we are going into 2019.
Right?
That's right. Yeah, for that, and then for the games based on the movies, because they were still making films back then. So Revenge of the Sith was still being made, and
wow,
I did all the stuff there, and it really wild, getting to watch that movie before it had come out, a bunch of like blue screen and green, all the stuff you see now on the discs, the behind the scenes stuff.
Sure.
But that's how I was watching the movie back then. They were showing me clips, because the game Revenge of the Sith was basically it was the same as the film. It had to mirror it. So, just really wild to look back on all this time and see that. And then we were just excited about it. So we would connect with people, and then Celebration. I remember going to my first Celebration. I think it was Celebration 3, and it was before any of it had really come out, but we had done the Genndy Clone Wars, and nobody knew who the heck I was, but I was there, and I just thought, oh, things are going to change. I kind of felt like, oh, once this comes out, people will be excited about it, because we knew about Clone Wars, the new series, 2 years before it even came out. We were making it. So you just really have to have patience, patience, Luke, when you're working in Star Wars, but it pays off. And I think the fan base has been so wonderfully appreciative and gracious to all of us.
Oh yeah. It's really neat. I also, and of course we all know that in addition to the Clone Wars, and I'm really looking forward to having you back on once we start getting to see these incredible new episodes. But now, not only that, but Obi-Wan Kenobi's Clone Wars version has returned to Star Wars Battlefront. That's pretty exciting too. Let's go ahead and take another break. When we come back, we will ask James about Battlefront 2. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Greetings. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Is it too early to think about your New Year's resolutions? And how does Harry's tie into that? I mean, for one thing, we need to be smarter with our personal finances, right? Well, Harry's can save you about $100 a year if you are a regular shaver. You can take better care of yourself through Harry's products, which have won a ton of awards, including the 2018 Esquire Grooming Award. They'll keep you looking and feeling great. Now, that's pretty exciting. What I love the most about Harry's is, well, just today I got my Harry's Holiday Engraved Razor, which is something we've been talking about for the past month here on the show. And it's pretty neat. My wife, being that she wrote Dan Z on the hilt, and I think it looks really fantastic. Harry's wants you to start the new year off right, so they've created a trial offer. Claim yours by going to harrys.com/CWK family. Now, you might be thinking, why Harry's? Well, Harry's founders were fed up with paying for razors that were overpriced and over-designed. They knew a great shave doesn't come from gimmicks like vibrating heads, flex balls, or handles that look like spaceships. tactics that the leading brands have used to raise prices for years. They have fixed that by combining a simple, clean design with quality, durable blades at a fair price. Harry's bought a world-class factory in Germany that's been making quality blades for over 95 years. They have received over 20,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot and Google. Their replacement cartridges are also just $2 each, which is amazing. They got rid of upcharges and are about half the price of the lead. And you have a 100% quality guarantee. If you don't love your shave, let them know and they'll give you a full refund. Now, let me give you the details of this trial offer. Get a $13 value trial set that comes with everything you need for a close, comfortable shave. A weighted ergonomic handle, 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel, and a travel blade cover. Listeners of my show can redeem their trial set at harrys.com/CWKFamily. Make sure you go to harrys.com/CWKFamily to redeem your offer and let them know I sent you to help support this show. We are back. Hold on, let me put down my PS4 controller. Okay, now I'm ready. Battlefront 2 came, of course, has been out for a while, but they do these great things. I think it's a great thing. I don't know if it's great for wallets, but they basically keep reinventing these games and releasing new stuff for them. I know they did for the new Spider-Man game and, of course, Battlefront 2. But we got Clone Wars characters, and, of course, you return as the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. How's that? What is it like to voice a video game versus doing something for the Clone Wars? I imagine it's kind of a similar kind of a thought process. I'm not sure.
It actually is kind of different. It really is. And, I don't even know how many games I've voiced as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I've lost track. However, Battlefront, and I actually had voiced back in 2002, 2003, Battlefront II, the original Battlefront II as Obi-Wan. And I remember that vividly, but always a different experience because Clone Wars were together as a cast recording, and then video games, you're totally separate and you are just on your own reading from basically like an Excel document. And it is a different experience. I worked with a great director, but it's weird because it's not Dave Filoni and it's not, the usual group of folks, but all the people at EA and DICE, they were fantastic and they were big fans of the Clone Wars. So that made it great. And we were just having fun with it and talking about all of it. But a very different experience in that you're more so just doing your lines. You don't get to see the other lines of the other actors, the other characters and such, and how they're interacting. And but boy, I got to tell you, what an amazing game they've put together. It's beautiful to look at. It's wonderful to just watch Obi-Wan run. I mean, it's just fun to see him swipe his saber or jump or run or any. It's gorgeous the way they've put it all together. And then to hear his, lovely dulcet tones come out, it's great fun for me. And I love that it's kind of a combination of Ewan and myself in that it looks a lot like him. That's not exactly Ewan McGregor's face, but it's pretty darn close. And now you can get the Obi-Wan armor from Clone Wars on him, and it's neat. I think it's a great time to be a fan of Clone Wars and Star Wars and all these characters.
Oh, it's super cool. And of course they've got, a Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan novel coming out. And then,
oh, really? I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I believe Claudia Gray is doing that.
Oh, Claudia is. Okay, great.
So that's exciting. They're just kind of a nice resurgence. And in my mythology class, of course, the listeners of the show got to hear my students on a couple of special podcasts over the past week. But when we show them the prequels, and it's still divided. Half the class has seen them, half the class has not. So, we have to right those injustices in the world, as you know. So we make sure everybody gets to see them. And there's always very visceral reactions. And I kid you not, James, I fill in gaps sometimes I put in different Clone Wars arcs and things to show, what do you want to see what the Clone Wars is like? Well, let me show you some amazing animation.
Right.
And it's cool to hear their reactions. And they're like, is that the same guy? I'm like, well, no, it's not the same guy. His name is James Arnold Taylor. I think he's better.
Oh,
yeah, he sounds cool. And, it's just cool to see the reactions. And it's just so seamless, whether it's the animation or the voice work, it's just, you guys are embodying this character. And I think that's the way it should be.
Well, thank you so much. That's wonderful to hear. That is some of the most humbling stuff is through all these years, people saying, oh, I hear Obi-Wan in my head as your character of Obi-Wan and stuff. It's really neat. And, it's one of those things as a voice actor, you go into it knowing that you're not going to be recognized as much as a celebrity and an on-camera actor, as we would say. But, I think now fans are becoming so savvy and they're so knowledgeable and they take in the information the same. They don't look at a video game or a cartoon really any differently than a film with these characters. And so Hollywood's really the only one I think that needs to play catch up on this and realize that people have a great appreciation for all aspects of it, and it means something to people. So that's very cool. That's great to hear in the class too. Yeah.
Oh, it's exciting. I mean, heck, and I think I may have told you this before too, but when I did that Target commercial a couple of years ago, I got to go in a sound booth and do my voiceover stuff.
Right.
And I only said 15 sentences, and it took an hour to say 15 sentences. They had me keep restating it, and it was stuff that I had said, and they were recording everything or writing down everything in the other room. There was like 4 people writing down everything that I said, and then they gave me the script, and they said, we just want you to say your lines that you said before. And I said, well, can I read them? And they said, no, because it will sound like you're reading. So I would just say them, and I thought that was very difficult, and I actually thought of you. And I thought, so James makes this come to life. I mean, obviously you're a pro, but my gosh, that is very, very difficult work. People don't realize.
I think, well, thank you first off, but yeah, I don't think most people do realize the amount of, it's just a different wiring as opposed to being an on-camera actor, but you have to emote. You have to it's just acting. I mean, that's what I think a lot of voice actors now, we're trying to just say we're character actors. We're not voice, because the perception is, oh, you just stand there on a microphone and talk and read whatever they put in. It's like, no, we try to become the character as much as we can. And, it's an art form. It really is. And
that's in your face too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's what I love doing, and I just am appreciative every day that I get to do it.
Oh man, well, we're very lucky that we have you, because my gosh, it's great. And I mean, even like my wife, when I'm recording an ad or something for the show, she'll listen to it, and she'll say, "You sound like you were really tired." And so I was, and she says, "You need to get a mirror in there." She says, "You need to look at yourself when you can watch yourself talking, because it'll make you more animated." Is that something that you have to do, or how are you able to get that incredible range of emotion out of a performance?
I find that's interesting that she would say that. And I think that actually could probably be very helpful for folks, especially if you're doing something that is within your own voice and it's just, really conveying that. I find I go more inward. I find that I have this wonderful little tape player in my head that just plays pictures of the characters that I'm doing. And so when I'm doing Obi-Wan Kenobi, I picture Obi-Wan there talking. I don't picture James. It's like on my podcast that I'm doing. I do all these characters talking to me, and it's called Talking to Myself. And so I talk to them. I picture them, and that somehow feeds me in a way to where I get more energy. Because if I am doing something where it's just me, I probably would lose some of the energy, because then it's more comfortable. So seeing yourself, I think that's a good note. I do sometimes with my I have an iPad in the booth. That's how I read my scripts. And I have noticed I will look at the reflection of myself sometimes while I'm reading and watch my mouth kind of,
Yeah.
and then go, okay, pick it up, James, or what have you. So yeah, I think the force is strong with your wife, indeed. Yes.
I can't wait to play that clip for her. Well, she also knows I'm a ham, and I think she thought I would entertain myself.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the podcast, which is great. That's a perfect transition. Let's take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk to James about Talking to Myself, the podcast. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Coffee, tea, or me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's Coffee with Kenobi.
Another thing to think about during this Christmas season is you're probably going to want to take a vacation next spring break, or maybe somewhat early for New Year's Eve. You might want to do something special, or of course there's always next summer. So the Christmas gift you can give to yourself is to get in touch with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. They have signature service and are the best way to maximize your vacation time and dollar. They have helped my show in so many ways because we do a lot of travel for Coffee with Kenobi, and they're able to help me find everything I need for things like the Disney theme parks and the cruise lines, have invaluable tips to offer and plan every detail. They share invaluable tips. I can't do my traveling without them. So be sure to go to www.mousefantravel.com today and let them know Coffee with Kenobi sent you. And being that it's the Christmas season and we're on Coffee with Kenobi and I'm drinking coffee while I record the show, that means I'm drinking One Nation Coffee, which is the official brew of Coffee with Kenobi. I started my Christmas morning today with One Nation Coffee because it is the best. You can start your coffee subscription so you never miss out on the best coffee in the galaxy by going to www.onenationcoffee.com. Plus, enter the code Kenobi10 to set up a coffee subscription and save 10% off your first order. We are back, and truth be told, I'm most excited about this segment because James Arnold Taylor's Talking to Myself, the podcast. One man, one throat, many voices. This is such an incredibly entertaining show. I dare you to listen to this and not smile. James, tell us all about this awesome podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been kind of years in the making to where I've done all these YouTube shows. I've done, so many different things. And yet I grew up in radio. I grew up recording. I grew up as a voice actor, and my whole world has always been just talking on a microphone. So it was ridiculous for me to not do a podcast, I guess, at this point. And I love the idea of being able to create all this stuff just within your mind. I mean, that's the greatest thing about listening to these, right? Is that everybody already has in their head how you look when you're doing Coffee with Kenobi, Dan. They all kind of, okay, this is, I know how he looks right now. And I picture him in the studio, and then they see video and they go, oh, it's different. It's different than I had imagined. So I just love the whole, thing there where you can just create this whole world. And so I thought, well, what would I do if I had a podcast? And, Talking to Myself is the name of my stage show. So I thought, okay, I'll just talk to myself. So what I did is I went in and I recorded 3 episodes just of me just talking and seeing how I liked podcasting. And I found I really loved it. But I was like, I started telling stories. And when I would tell the stories, I'd go into voices. And then I went, maybe that's what I need to do. So I did those 3 as like an experiment. And those have not seen the light of day. Nobody's heard those yet. Maybe I'll put them out sometime for special listener things. But that's where I thought I need to come up with like some characters and stuff. So I went back to my old radio days and some of the characters that I would do on the radio, but also some were just brand new and literally they just come up as I go. So what I do is I act as though I'm here in my studio right now. In fact, I was just before we got on the line here with each other, I'm in my studio editing next week's episode of the podcast, which will come out the day after Christmas. And so it'll be coming out tomorrow when everybody hears this. Cool. And I just talk to myself. I figure, okay, I've got my engineer, Hank, is the guy that, handles the equipment and fixes everything, but he doesn't fix anything. And because working in radio, I had engineers like that seem like they want to just kind of come in and talk to you instead of actually do anything. You'd be like, hey, this microphone isn't working. Yeah, let me tell you this story. I used to work with Howard Stern and, you're like, okay. So I started just playing. And that's what the show is it's me talking to these characters. And then it makes it more like, so the very first episode I interview Obi-Wan Kenobi because I figure, well, I've got access to him. And what would I ask Obi-Wan Kenobi if I could just talk to him as a regular guy? And so we had fun. So Obi-Wan came in. See, I say we, I'm thinking like in my head, it's like another character. It's not just me. He came in and I thought, what would I ask him if he just landed on Earth and, didn't know about all the things that we know through all the films and everything because he's prequel Obi-Wan and he's also pre Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan. He's Clone Wars Obi-Wan, so he doesn't know any of this stuff. So I'm just talking to him and asking him questions. Oh, what do you think of Anakin? Oh, yes, Anakin's the chosen one. Oh, really? Well, and that kind of stuff. What do you mean? Nothing. Where do you think he and Padme go when they're on those special missions? Oh, they're just detecting crime. Oh, yeah, sure. Obi-Wan. Okay. So I'm just talking to him about things the way I would, so what, what kind of burger would you get if you're out here and, would you go to In-N-Out Burger? Would you go to, whatever?
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, okay. And so he would just, it was just fun. And now I have these characters. I have a character that's Franklin, that's my agent, and he calls me up, and I've got Billy, the intern, who's just a young kid, and he's always, oh, yes, Mr. Taylor, just James. Mr. Taylor, James. No, just James. James Taylor. No, so I talk to him and he talks to me, and then I do a lot of emails. I ask people to send in emails, and they do, and I've been getting wonderful questions. It's also been a place where I've been able to just kind of be myself, talk really openly about my faith and about how it is to be someone of faith working in Hollywood, and how you deal with that, and how I deal with just all the various things in my own life that I've had to deal with, and try to connect with people on a different level than I would any place else, or while recording a TV show that doesn't allow me that opportunity. So I think it's been great. I hope people would check it out and listen to it and give it a shot.
Well, as I said, and I wasn't just saying this, I mean, it's 100% true. It is so entertaining. Just that little snippet you did right there. I mean, it's gold. That's gold, Jerry. It's gold.
Thank you. That is great. And I appreciate the Seinfeld reference.
Of course. Yeah,
I throw them in everywhere.
Our age.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is fun. I hope to continue to do it as long as I can. I try to put one out a week. So I do every Wednesday, the episodes come out. And I'm just hoping that I might be able to, eventually get some sponsors and stuff. See, I aspire to the Coffee with Kenobi level someday with this podcast. And so, yeah.
I have a good feeling about this.
Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate you letting me plug the show there. And it's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on iTunes, it's on Android app, it's on Google Play. Been figuring out all the wiles of podcasting and getting those things out there. You know all too well what that involves.
I do. It's fun. And I will put a link to the iTunes link, which is, I know where a majority of podcasts are listened to. And I'll put a link to the web page as well, because there's a lot of great stuff. Your demos, your videos, the Jat show, so many wonderful things. James, in addition to your website and talking to myself, the podcast, where can people reach out to you if they want to ask you a question or just say hello?
Oh, boy. Well, certainly on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. I know that's now I'm an old man on Twitter. All the kids like the Instagram. I'm on Instagram as well, but I don't find you can interact as well with Instagram, so I'm on Twitter a lot. Yeah. And I'm able to instantly see that. I'll do Ask Jats there. So it's at Jat Actor, which is JAT Actor. And Jat, obviously, because James Arnold Taylor is entirely too long to say. And as Tom Kane used to say at Star Wars Weekends, and now the man with 3 first names, but it's a long name. And so on there, and then on YouTube, and I certainly read all the comments, and my podcast is on YouTube. And so people have been commenting there. And so I respond and I give the thumbs ups or the hearts on the likes, and then also they can email me at my website. You can go to the link that says The Jat Show and then choose a topic there. There's various topics, and they can write me an email and connect with me there. And I've been getting so many wonderful emails from everybody since the podcast has been coming out. As we have been doing this interview, I've seen 3 or 4 pop up just now. So it's really great.
Cool. I love it. Well, as I said, we'll definitely have links to this in the show notes. James, thank you again so much for being a guest on Coffee with Kenobi.
Oh, well, a Merry Christmas, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful Christmas.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is...
As we close out the show, I want to thank our CWK sponsors, One Nation Coffee, Harry's Razors, and Mouse Fan Travel. Please support them the way they support our podcast. And remember to listen to new and archive shows of Coffee with Kenobi wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Spreaker, Overcast, Blog Talk Radio, Player FM, or our website, www.coffeewithkenobi.com. And if you listen to the show through iTunes, please leave us a review. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, and Tumblr, and we'd love for you to check us out there. Also, be sure to listen to our CWK family of shows, including Legends Library, Rebels Reactions, Comics with Kenobi, and Lattes with Leia. Please leave a review for each of their shows as well, and be sure to subscribe to each of them individually, as they all have their own feeds now. A huge thank you to James Arnold Taylor for joining us today for a cup of coffee on our Christmas show. In addition to the places I just mentioned for Coffee with Kenobi, you can find me twice a month on the podcast Looking at Lucasfilm, part of the Jim Hill Media Network podcast, as well as on Twitter at Mr. Sarah MRZEHR, and you can find my writings on CWK's website, as well as StarWars.com and IGN. Don't forget to check out www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi to help support the show, as well as get access to podcasts not heard anywhere else like CWK Pour Over. There are also t-shirts, coffee mugs, and much more. Thank you as always for joining me for a cup of coffee. Be sure to stay tuned for 2 special shows early next week as I turn the microphone over to my students as they share the recording sessions with each and every one of you. It was the accumulation of a semester of hard work, and I can't wait to share these with you. I'm so proud of them, I can't even tell you. Merry Christmas again, and Happy New Year to each and every one of you. This is a podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here.